So I always say the easiest next dollar you can make for most people is saving on taxes.
Greetings, Well Builders. Welcome to Get Diversified, your go-to podcast for all things real estate investments.
I'm Jacqueline.
Melvin Landry. We're thrilled to embark on this wealth building journey with you.
Imagine this. What if your investments not only secure your future, but also unlock a life of financial freedom? That's what we're diving into on this show. Apartment buildings, storage facilities, mobile home parks, the whole shebang.
But here's the kicker. It's not just about investing. It's about crafting a legacy, building memories with your loved ones, and seizing every moment. Time is the currency of life. And let's be real, none of us wants to waste.
We've got the insights, experience, and dash of excitement to spice up your investing game. Plus, we'll throw in some real-life stories that'll make you see the potential in every brick and mortar.
Subscribe, buckle up, and get ready to turn your investments into the ticket to financial freedom. Together, we're not just building wealth, we're building the community of savvy investors. Let's get diversified.
Speaking of that on tax, right? Tax incentive, tax mitigation strategies. Why don't you share some nuggets for the audience in terms of some of the things that you're looking at, maybe say 3 years ago versus today, right? Because we got a new tax bill. Things are changing.
Absolutely.
What would you recommend to listeners to take advantage today? And that's if you just have a W-2. What should you be doing? Love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. So one of the things is to also look at the mindset around taxes, because sometimes people hear, saving taxes, they're thinking you're doing something illegal, unethical. But the reality is, and this is one of the big learnings when I met Tom, is that the tax code is really more about telling you 90% of it is here's how you save taxes by doing things that the government wants to encourage
you to do.
They want to encourage real estate investors like us because we beautify neighborhoods, right? We provide more housing for people. They want to incent investing in oil and gas exploration, right? Because oil and gas, even though there's a lot of clean energy, environmental stuff, it's going to be, 50, 100 years before we could ever even think about becoming independent of oil and gas. And so they encourage that exploration. So one of the things that people have to get their mindset right is by exploring these kind of tax reduction strategies. These are legal, ethical strategies that you can pursue. And you can actually, once you get knowledgeable about the different strategies, you can actually target what tax you want to save versus pay. The other piece of it for me was, even though I'm now down to where I hardly pay any taxes, I still give back because I tithe at my church. We give to our colleges that we went to. We give to local initiatives in the community. So you can figure out, morally, how you want to deal with it. But the government is saying, no, we want you to have these breaks, because if we give you these tax breaks, you can hire even more people in your real estate business, right? You can do even more oil and gas drilling. And so that's an important thing, is for people to get their mindset right around there's nothing bad about saving taxes. Now.
Wow. And I'll share, once you're done, I'll share my thought process 7 to 10 years ago versus what it is today.
Yeah.
Total 360 transformation.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Exactly. Okay. I want to hear that. The other thing that people struggle with, and again, most people like us had to change CPAs, because the CPA that was working with you on that W-2 job, once you start talking about cost segregation and some of the other strategies I'm going to tell you about, they're going to be uncomfortable with a lot of them. And that's because they studied them in school, but they're not doing it every day. And most CPAs are afraid of you getting audited. So if they're not totally comfortable with the strategy, they're not going to recommend it. Critical thing is getting to the right CPA that can keep up with where you are as you grow as a sophisticated investor. And so 10 years ago, or whatever it was, 8 years ago, when I met Tom, that was a hard thing. I mean, I thought I had a great CPA, but he just wasn't where he needed him to be. I kept giving him tax strategies to look at, as opposed to him, telling me about things we could do. So that's another big thing, is get prepared to switch CPAs once you get to an advanced level in your investing. Now, the other thing I'll mention before I mention the strategies, when you talk about tax reduction strategies, it's not just about the taxes you save, but you have to look at it as what does it mean for your future as well. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're paying $40,000 in taxes. Let's say you're able to save $20,000 in taxes. Well,
Okay.
it's not just that 20,000, because remember, if you pay that money to Uncle Sam, you're going to never see that again. But now if you've got another $20,000 that you can invest, let's say at 8%, like in an income ETF fund, which is not that hard to do, in 10 years, that's now worth 43,000. In 20 years, it's worth 93,000. In 30 years, it's worth 200,000. So the way you have to look at it is, hey, you may say I'm only saving 20,000, but what I like to do is have the discipline of saying, no, I'm going to invest that money. And so that's not just 20. Or if I'm looking at retiring in 20 years, that's $93,000 that I'm going to have. And if I do that every year, what a difference that's going to make. I can be millions of dollars ahead by the time I get to that future point of retirement or work option or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Wow. Man,
Now,
that's funny. Oh, wow. Cool.
yeah,
Compound pretty quick.
yeah, exactly.
It compounds pretty quick, man. You talk about the strategy, man. It's like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I had a notion of, look, I work W-2s. That's cool. I pay my fair share. I'm good, right? Supposed to pay my fair share. Fast forward 10 years later, man. Look, whatever strategy the government wants me to do to mitigate my tax risk, I'm on top of it. X.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the real reason why they're giving that is, they want to give you money back so you can keep investing in whatever that activity is that is beneficial. So that's really how you have to look at it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
in terms,
Wow.
yeah. So in terms of some strategies, so in terms of real estate, I know you've talked to your listeners about cost segregation and
Yep.
type family. I don't know if you're talking about Airbnb type strategies, but that's a way to also get cost segregation benefits, but you don't need as many hours as we as real estate professionals. So that's something that, and I'm not going to go deep here, and I've not done Airbnbs, but I just know about the strategies. So something for your listeners to talk to their CPAs about if they're interested in Airbnbs.
Okay. Hey, man. Good, great nuggets of information. I
Yeah.
mean, you're dropping dimes on us here, man. So, I mean, as we kind of expand, right? Tax strategies, right? Way to mitigate your tax. Got a guy out there working a job, doesn't know where to put funds, looking for some ways to get diversified. What would you tell him, man? He's got a corporate job, hasn't invested much, but wants to get to where you're at in the next 5 to 10 years. How would you advise him to think about things, and what's some things he should maybe act on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. Actually, I always tell people, because I advise a number of my investors some of them are going into retirement, or some of them are behind and trying to catch up. So I always say the easiest next dollar you can make for most people is saving on taxes. Invest in oil and gas. If you're accredited, you've got to be accredited. Your listeners probably know what that means. Because if you invest in oil and gas, you get 80 to 90% of that investment as a write-off in the first year. So if you invest $100,000, you save $30,000 in taxes off the top. And then if you invest the right way, you're going to double or triple your money over typically a 10-year period. Now, the oil and gas wells will typically produce for 20 or 30 years, but you're going to make most of the money in that first 10 years.
Gotcha.
There's also a charitable gifting strategy. It's called transformative personal property. And it's typically like medical devices and things like that, where essentially you get a 5-to-1 benefit. So you invest, and you can actually, there are some of these you can do without being accredited, where you can invest $25,000 you get $125,000 tax deduction, which means that, you're going to have a $50,000 tax savings, something like that. And so these are strategies just where, you're investing in the strategy. Essentially, you're buying the product at wholesale, and then it's appraised at retail. That's how you get to the 125 from the 25,000 investment.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. That's another thing that is accessible for a lot of people. Typically, the minimum will be 25 to 50,000. So another strategy, and this starts to get much more beneficial, something called leveraged charitable contribution. This would be people that make at least $180,000. Essentially, you're allowed to borrow money from a third party and then donate that money to a charity that lender designates. And so for every dollar you invest, you're going to get 7.5 to $9 in tax deduction. So it's huge. So essentially, if you had $180,000 in income, you wanted to offset all of that. For $20,000 to $24,000, you could basically offset all of that income.
Wow.
So huge tax benefit. Now, what's the catch? Well, the catch, that $20,000 to $24,000 is what you outlay up front, which is paying for the interest. Essentially, they have you pay the interest up front. However, you do have to ultimately pay that $180,000 back, but you don't have to pay that off for like 40 years. So that can be paid from your estate when you pass away, or you can buy an insurance policy to cover what the balance will be at that point.
Okay.
But it's a strategy that you can do every year. And so in this case, you would save $67,000, $24,000 in upfront costs. You're saving $43,000. So again, think about that, 43,000, and then you multiply that times all the compounding. And if you do that every year, I mean, that can be huge, right?
Okay.
So that's another strategy. And then and I won't talk in any detail about this, but there's a convertible tax bond strategy where you can actually offset prior year's income as long as you implement it before you file. So if you haven't filed for 2024 at this point, you can actually execute this strategy, and essentially you can save 25% of your taxes. So if your tax bill is $100,000, you basically invest $75,000 and you get $100,000 in benefit. So it's it's not as big as some of the other benefits, but if you got the cash and you want to save 25%, you can do that.
So basically, 5 fantastic strategies you laid out. If you do something, you will get a benefit of something, right? There is a benefit if you take action. So if you do nothing, Uncle Sam will come collecting and you will have to pay or else.
Yes.
I mean, that's in simplistic terms, right? If you do nothing, the bill will come due, right? It's up to
That's
you
right.
as the individual to mitigate that, to kind of flip the script in terms of, do you want to do what the government wants you to do, get the benefit as enhanced from that, not have to incur a tax bill, or not? It's pretty simple from that standpoint. So, Kevin, wow, man, you dropped, man. Hopefully the listeners are picking up, what you're dropping, because you're giving them nuggets of intel and things of that nature. I know he spoke to a high level, but I mean, look, from a philosophical standpoint, if you do either one of these things, right, you're putting yourself in a position to improve your position, improve your tax obligation, and the benefits are out there, and the government wants you to do it. So, Kevin, man, this has been absolute fire and fantastic. So, look, why don't you? Oh no, go ahead.
And let me help you this way too. I invest in oil and gas every year, and last year, a friend of mine, her family was in the oil and gas business. She still is. So I actually offer an oil and gas opportunity every year to my investors. So that's certainly something I can let you know about over the next couple of months when we do that again. And then I do have a tax. He's actually a financial advisor, but he focuses on tax mitigation strategies. So if any of your people want to get connected with him on some of these strategies, he works with different tax strategists around the country on these various strategies. So I can certainly share his contact information with you if people want to reach out to him. And now the strategies that I've shared are all strategies that my CPA is okay with, is checked off. But he's got some other strategies as well that he can share.
Okay, man, look, a lot of nuggets of information. Man, as we kind of wrap and close this thing up, won't you tell these listeners your information, how they can get in contact with you, how they can take advantage of some of these strategies, because they're out there for the taking. Won't you go ahead and share those nuggets, man? And we will be sure to put them in the show notes. I'll let you go ahead and tell the listeners how they can reach you, Kevin.
Awesome. Kevin Anderson. I'm at Kevin at growabilityequity.com. And my number is 502-802-1592. So be happy to talk to anybody about any of this.
All right, sounds good. Well, Captain, man, look, it has been a fantastic show. You have dropped dimes on this show, providing folks options. And look, there is no such thing as not having a strategy. There are opportunities that the government wants you to take advantage of so you can improve your position, improve your tax obligation, and just get the benefits, man. There are a ton out there. Kevin has shared some fire strategies, and hopefully, you can take advantage of some of those. And if you got questions, he's here. He's giving his information. We'll be sure to share them in the show notes. And, look, keep improving your financial trajectory, man. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, freedom. That is what it is all about. So, Kevin, on behalf of myself, my wife, Jackie, man, appreciate you joining the show and dropping some dimes, brother. We appreciate you.
Hey, Melvin, well, thanks for allowing me to share with your universe. And I'm in the same boat as you, just trying to help people accelerate their path to financial freedom.
Amen to that, bro. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Jacqueline and Melvin, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of Get Diversified. Please make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. Finally, stop by our website and follow us on social media. Ciao for now. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time. And remember, get diversified.